All right, stand by. 10 seconds to
Camera
go.
one.
Talent.
Ready, camera.
Roll
Cue talent.
2,
One.
1. Roll for record.
President Barack Obama's final State of the Union speech is in the history books. I'm John Phillips, and this is The Rundown. Predictably, he said our economy is great, the world's at peace, he's done a fantastic job. He wants you to believe the greatest threat to our nation isn't Islamic terrorism, nuclear armed creeps like North Korea and Iran, the collapse of the U.S. middle class. No. It's global warming, followed closely by Donald Trump. Yes, just after lamenting the fact that he hadn't succeeded in destroying partisanship during his time in the White House, he spent a good part of the speech attacking Republicans. Not only did he go after conservatives with his words, the guest list of people he invited to sit with the First Lady was custom-tailored to irritate anyone who isn't a dedicated leftist. Let's go ahead and take a look at who is in attendance. Sue Ellen Allen, a woman convicted of fraud who fled the United States until finally returning and spending 6 years in the slammer. She's now a crusader for criminal justice reform. In other words, letting more criminals like her out of prison. Refi Hamo, a Syrian refugee with cancer, was there. Major Lisa Jaster, an Army Reserve officer and the first female to graduate from Ranger School. Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, representing, of course, the 1%. Jim Obergefell, the plaintiff in the case that legalized gay marriage. Ryan Reyes, a man whose boyfriend was killed in the San Bernardino terrorist attack, but is now spending all of his time saying we shouldn't worry about Islam. Naveed Shah, a Muslim immigrant, U.S. Army veteran who served in Iraq. And Oscar Vasquez, an illegal alien who has since gained legal status and also served in the Army. The list goes on, but the intent is clear. Illegal aliens, refugees, Muslims, women, tech CEOs, and even convicted criminals are all wonderful people, and we should stop questioning them. Got that? Look, President Obama's on his way out. He's just getting an early start on what he's going to spend the rest of his life doing, which is defending one of the most controversial and divisive presidencies in the history of the office. He spent more time in office criticizing the American people than anything else, and he's terrified of the legacy of bitterness that constant presidential scolding has created. To talk about the president's speech and legacy, joining us from Dallas, Texas, is author and political satirist Scott Ott, and here in Southern California, stand-up comic and PJTV contributor Stephen Cruiser. Cruiser, could he have been more aggressively belligerent last night with his guest list if he tried?
No, he could. They're so over the top with this. I mean, they even gave the poor refugee cancer just to fit him in there with the narrative. Only the Democrats would do that. The Republicans would never give anybody cancer just for the the optics of it. So no, it was. I'm glad that somebody countered with Kim Davis, even though I wasn't a huge Kim Davis fan. The fact that the State of the Union has devolved into this thing where it's this purely political hack thing, I pray all the time that we'll go back to the days when the president just wrote it down on a piece of paper and sent it in, because this has gotten ridiculous. I really hope the next president, whomever it is, doesn't do this. It's because it really cheapens everything. I mean, this guy's cheapened the Oval Office in ways even Bill Clinton couldn't dream of at times, but it really does demean the whole thing. And then to wrap it up with this like new politics garbage and let's be nicer to each other after you've just stuck your middle finger in somebody's face for an hour was just so galling. I thought my eyes were I thought they were gonna do a slot machine thing and just keep rolling like that in my head.
You know, Scott, I got to be honest with you. I didn't watch the speech on television. I had to read the transcript afterwards because I knew it would just make me so angry. I couldn't do it. But I am glad that he gave this speech on his way out, because this speech was written and delivered by petulant scolds. And that, to me, is going to be the Obama legacy outside of destroying the healthcare industry and outside of what's going on in Iran and around the world right now. But I think it is his calling card, don't you?
Well, you know, like you, I had the wisdom to not watch this speech last night. In fact, me and my wife and my children all went to see a movie, and it was perfectly timed because we were at this place where you can eat food and see a movie, and they serve you like a restaurant in the place. And as we came out of the theater at the end of the movie, there were a bunch of people sitting around this bar cheering. And I looked up on the screen, I thought football season was over, and I look up on the screen, and there's President Obama with just having said the last words of the State of the Union address. And I went over to one of the guys sitting at the bar and I said, are these a bunch of people who just happen to wander in here and are cheering for the president's State of the Union address? And he and an elderly woman next to him, she was about my age, said, oh no, we're the young Democrats of Collin County. And now you know it bodes well for the Democratic Party when the lady about my age is part of the Young Democrats. But I think I'm with Cruiser. I think we need to go back to the days when the president submitted the State of the Union in writing. There was a real purpose for that, by the way. It didn't just used to be a show. The purpose of the State of the Union was that for the most part of the year, the legislature wasn't in Washington. And the president was supposed to bring Congress up to speed on what was going on and recommend to them any things that he thought would be worthy of their consideration. And instead, it's turned out to be a pageant.
That's right. And Congress likes it because they get to be on television, too. You saw Paul Ryan there, in the back corner of the screen throughout the entire speech. All of the female members of Congress, I love this. The guys all wear the dark suits and the ties. The women that show up, it's the one day a year that they all wear red because they want to be noticed on television. And they all get there early, including Sheila Jackson Lee, where they, and Janice Hahn here in California, where they fight for seats near the walkway so that way they can get the hug and the kiss from the president as he's going down, which takes like 15 or 20 minutes with all the pageantry of a drug dealer's daughter's quinceañera. And they get the kiss and they get their 5 minutes of fame or however long it is, and then they go home happy.
Well, it's more of Hollywood, more of Washington being Hollywood for ugly people. That's what this is their little, it's almost like their Oscars, they get together. There's not really a red carpet, but they talk to them about it a lot. And and Congress really is just their audience members. They have nothing to do with this really, but it's their big, like you said, it's just attention, whatting, and it's just the whole spectacle of it. What he was doing last night, though, now let me get to this, because this is what was really bugging me. I knew as soon as he started how this was going to go. I knew it was going to be, this is what we've accomplished, and I'm listening to his fairy tale version of America right now, and I knew right then that all of the mainstream press was just going to run with that as fact. And I've been following it since the speech ended last night, and that's what they've been doing. They've been repeating what he said, nobody challenging anything. I listened to, on NPR this morning, it's my dirty little secret, I listen to a lot of NPR. On NPR this morning, there was this woman waxing about signature Obama eloquence and calling for healing and wholeness, and I was just, I was going like, these people are living in a fantasy novel. They're not reality based at all anymore. So I knew that's where it was going to go. Once you realize that, once you manage your expectations and know that, he's slightly less annoying. I was slightly less annoyed last night, not just because he's on his way out, because I think he's going to be a bigger nightmare as an ex-president than as a president. Now that he's on, but it's just once you've managed your expectations and know that they're all just completely full of it, it's a little easier.
Scott, Dick Morris once said that every time Bill Clinton gave one of these speeches, he would move the needle. Did Barack Obama move the needle of public opinion at all last night?
I didn't think he was using those needles anymore, but I'm sure he inflamed the passions of the Collin County Young Democrats and others who were like them. I mean, those people literally were cheering at what he said. So in that sense, he probably fired up the base. I doubt he made any difference in the minds of people like us. I mean, that it just doesn't happen. And frankly, I think most Americans are probably like me in that I might sit through that speech if it wasn't punctuated every 5 seconds by applause that lasted longer than the speech. So here's what I'm going to do. I have a video editing software. I'm going to have somebody take the speech, one of my children maybe, and I'm going to have them take all of the applause out and put it in one file, and then all of the speech parts in the other file. And then I'm going to watch the speech, and I'm going to send the applause reel to the White House, because that's the only reason that President Obama is interested in this at all. He is Lady Gaga's disciple. He lives for the applause, applause, applause.
You know what, you guys, since neither one of you watched it, I am not making this up, and I commented about it on Twitter last night. They were the most tepid applause breaks from the Democrats that he's ever gotten during a State of the Union address. In all of his years there, they were just like, there were a couple that were yay, yay, yay with the screaming and the whooping. Most of them were like, oh, this is the part where we're supposed to stand up and clap, huh? Yeah, okay, and now we need to sit down. It was like they were at the Ellen show and somebody had the applause sign or something. It was
liturgical.
Easily the most tepid response he's ever gotten from his partisans.
Were you surprised that there wasn't much, if anything, about the Iran boat situation, where our boats were seized by Iran?
Well, no,
the State of the Union address, we have 2 boats that are seized by a hostile nation, and that's not point one.
Because our guys were being interrogated at the time, so he wasn't going to say that, and they probably knew that, and they went out and lied about it right before the State of the Union address. Josh Earnest said, well, they're going to be sent on their way promptly. No, well, they're going to be sent on their way promptly after we interrogate them, and they didn't mention that. They left that out. That hit the news at like midnight Pacific last night.
Should that have been part of it, Scott?
Yeah, I think that there are security purposes for not saying anything about it. However, I think that if this charade that the Kerry State Department and the Obama administration wants us to believe is actually true, that we now have an honest negotiating partner in Iran, one that can be trusted to fulfill the obligations to which they've pledged themselves, then why not say, in the State of the Union address, even if they want to keep the company line, why doesn't the president say, Iran, we want to thank you for rescuing our guys from that island. We expect them to be back aboard our ships within the hour. Appreciate it.
Do you think Democrats hoped and wished that he would have said something complimentary of Hillary Clinton in the speech, touted her time as Secretary of State?
I think no, because the Democrats in the upper levels know that the Clintons and the Obamas don't like each other. I don't think they were expecting that. I think he went as far as he could because he mostly advanced campaign policy ideas in this speech. He went for the stuff that she's going for. Healthcare, global warming, blah, blah, blah.
Wait a
campaign
minute.
finance
His vice
reform.
president, Joe Biden, just essentially attacked Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
On her commitment to the middle class and wealth inequality.
Well,
that was one of the themes of the speech last night.
I don't think anybody is thinking that Biden's on the reservation on anything. But no, I think if you listen right at the beginning, he came out and outlined basically a Democrat stump speech for this election. That's what he did first.
I sensed a backhand to Hillary. Did you see that, Scott, at all, where he didn't tout any of her accomplishments as Secretary of State? He brought up the issue of wealth inequality, which his vice president, who's in the same screenshot as him, attacked Hillary Clinton on earlier in the week. Did you sense kind of a little no love lost between the two?
Well, and here's the problem. He cannot be seen as endorsing Hillary Clinton or even suggesting that he might endorse Hillary Clinton because he has already committed himself to Joe Biden. Remember back when Joe Biden was toying with running for president? He basically said that Joe Biden would make an excellent president. Hillary Clinton, by the way, the day after, or maybe the day of the speech, I'm not sure exactly when it hit YouTube, released a video endorsing President Obama's position on gun control, his executive orders on gun control. And the name of the video is I'm with him. And so I think Clinton may sense that there's a little distance there, and she wants to pull a little closer, at least for the time being.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. That's all the time we have for today. But now it's your turn. What will the lasting legacy of President Obama really be? And what is the State of the Union he leaves us with? Tell us what you think in the comments section below. I'm John Phillips. Thanks so much for watching The Rundown.